Welcome back to the channel. My name is Daniel Schiffer and I am here today to tell you to stop, collaborate, and listen. Ice is back on his brand new invention, something. My name is Tony and I like Daniel Schiffer's videos. They're pretty cool. But in this video, I wanted to try to make a Daniel Schiffer video and I wanted to tell you what I learned through this process and what I wish I knew before doing it. And before you guys start grilling me in the comment section, there are two things I wanted to let you know. One, I am a beginner. I am not a professional like Daniel Schiffer. I have a broken tripod. I shoot with a Canon SL2. My desk for doing reviews for products is a literal door. So I'm no professional. I'm a beginner. Number two, I typically don't shoot these kind of videos at all. This is like the first time I tried a style like this. I usually shoot videos that look like this.
So basically we are an extension of Primary Prevention, their main location in Flushing. We're their first ever satellite clinic and we just work.
So they look nothing like Daniel Schiffer's videos, but I gave it a try and so let's get into it. This is what I made. So as you can see, this was a Daniel inspired video. Literally the lime throw where it like comes up and breaks apart, that was in his last tutorial. So thank you for that, Daniel. That was very helpful. I learned a lot. But let's dive into what I wish I knew before trying this. The first thing that I wish I did was shoot in 120 frames per second. So you might ask, why didn't I, Tony? Well, the reason is because my Canon SL2 only shoots in 60 frames per second. So this makes it really challenging when you're trying to get that buttery smooth slow-mo and you don't quite have a fast enough frame rate to slow it down to 25%. So this was a challenge for me in the editing room. So what I did to kind of cheat this, to kind of get past it, was I used, I think it's called optical flow. It's not frame blending, I think it's optical flow. I use that to slow it down because that kind of like smooths it out even if you're not shooting in slow-mo. I don't know how it does it, but it does it. I just know that. And this helped me with some of my shots because some of them were jittery. Like they get like if you're walking through a concert or like a rave and like it's strobing. I've never been to a rave, but if it's kind of like that. So the first thing I wish I had done was shoot in 120 frames per second. The second thing I wish I did was plan out my shoot better beforehand. So my brother had called me last minute to make this video for the restaurant because he manages and owns a restaurant and he's like, hey, I'm gonna stop by and shoot this. And I was like, sounds great. So he showed up in a half hour and I didn't have much preparation or planning involved. So I kind of winged it as we went, but I did at least draw. If you can see here, like I drew, that's a little stick guy and he's pulling the knife out and cutting an avocado. And it says, pull knife from block and cut veggie. So I did plan a little bit and I did prepare, but the really thing that changes a mediocre video to like a professional video like Daniel Schiffer is the fact that he plans everything out. I thought of some of the shots and I had kind of a shot list in my head of what I wanted to do, but what I didn't have was transitional shots, like before and afterwards. If you can tell in the video, I used a few janky, they were transitions that you can like get online. So it wasn't that great, but instead if I was to like do this video again, I would have thought of my camera movements going into the frame and then leaving the frame. There were a lot of times where I would just shoot the image and then that was it, and I didn't really have an exiting frame and an intro to the next shot. That really can take your shot to the next level. The third thing I learned from making this video was I wish I would have shot a higher f-stop, you might call it. I was shooting at f-stop 1.8 and I wish I shot at something like maybe 2.4 or something like that because I had a lot of shallow depth of field, and when I was looking on my camera when I was shooting, it looked good. But when I got into the editing software, I realized that some of the shots were still kind of blurry or out of focus because I had it pinpoint to such a narrow, shallow depth of field that it was hard to see the object sometimes, especially on the movement shots. Like where I'm moving in frame, I'm following an object going up and down. It's hard to keep that object in focus unless you're really keeping the same amount of distance the whole time, which is really hard to do. So something I wish I would have done is shot at a higher f-stop so there was a little more focus and a little less blur. If you look at where I threw the avocado up, I actually masked over the avocado in post to put a different avocado in the shot because the avocado that was currently in the shot was too blurry and I didn't like the way it looked. So if I was to do this again, I would shoot in maybe a little bit higher f-stop so that there's less shallow depth of field and you can see the product a little clearer. So that's something else I learned. The fourth thing that I wish I had, it's not that I didn't know this, but I wish I had it, was image stabilization. So my lens doesn't have image stabilization on it. So what I had to do in post was use image stabilization in Final Cut Pro, which this works to a degree, but if you overuse it, your shots can sometimes look warpy or wobbly, and you can kind of notice that a little bit in some of my shots, but without it, it's really shaky and it's hard to like perfect it, especially because I'm shooting it handheld. The other thing that would have helped with this is if I would have shot in 120 frames per second, because then when you put it in slow motion, you really kind of lose the jitteriness of your handheld shots. So I wish I would have had a lens that has image stabilization for doing these types of shoots. Before I jump into the last tip of what I learned by creating a video like this is all the previous steps that I mentioned so far. This is what separates beginner videographers from professional videographers. All the details, all the little changes you make with the time you spend editing and color grading and adjusting the retiming and image stabilization and all the effects you can add to your video clip and all the gear you use. This is what separates beginners from professionals. Some people think that it's all about the gear, like you have to have the top of the line gear to be able to be a pro videographer, and that's not true because I've started with my beginner gear and I'm able to get clients. So it's not all about the gear, but there is a certain level that you get to that if you want to get to the upper levels or the better like industry standard, is that what it's called? I don't know. If you want to get to those higher levels, sometimes you need better gear to get there, and sometimes you need better skill. So I do not have the skill that Daniel has. I don't know all the tricks he uses in the editing room and all of his color grades and all these things. And sound design, I am still learning it. I have no idea what I'm doing with sound design. So this is all stuff I'm learning, but all these details, it's in the details, is what separates you from beginner to professional. The last thing I learned is that I wish I was Daniel Schiffer. Like a lot of people ask me, how do you succeed as a videographer? It's simple. Look like Daniel Schiffer, talk like Daniel Schiffer, and be Daniel Schiffer. What? I hope Daniel actually doesn't see this video. This will be kind of embarrassing. But anyways, that's what I learned, guys. Hopefully you guys keep creating. I don't know how to end these videos.
So much for watching. Thank you to Epidemic Sound for sponsoring this video, and I will see you guys in the next video.
Ooh, that's tricky. I don't know if I... He does something. He says, thank you for watching the video. Be sure to comment below something, your favorite color. This video is sponsored by Epidemic Sound. Not really. And catch you guys on the next video.